So, we are live in the show. You're doing a live show. I'm kind of nervous. Yesterday we did an episode. We were talking about the alien abduction story involving a woman named Mandy, a premature alien abduction story. Hello. And we did the story towards the tail end of the last episode, and we didn't get to complete it. And today we are going to finish up the story because it has a very bizarre ending. Not just a bizarre ending, but a flat out disturbing ending to the story. And the one thing about this story is I love you more. The one thing about this story is there is no name to the person that told the story, which is so weird to me. And I know a lot of people who... Me too. A lot of people who message me talking about the Black Eyed Kids. The Black Eyed Children, Black Eyed Kids and stuff. Which kind of sounds like a rap group, in my opinion. It was kind of weird. Like, one person gave me this weird vibe, this weird message, which is when you talk about them, they will show up somewhere, show up somewhere near you, which is like the stupidest thing ever to hear. And I will say this, like, nothing happened to me after I told the story, after I finished up the podcast and we wrapped it up. I was like doing extensive research on this story. I was reading this story because, like, after the show ended, I just continued reading it just to prepare for the next episode. So, I'm going to start the intro and we will come back and I'm going to find my place where I was at when we wrapped up the show. So, I don't want to read something where I already read it. So, sit back, relax, and here's the intro to the show. So, alright, I found the place we were at in the story. Alright, we ended it where the person wrote, I was concerned about the activity may eventually lead to physical intervention. I didn't mention my unease. Soulmates. Forever. I believe we talked for 3 hours. There's nothing exceptional about Mandy and her mother. They lived in the family home since Mandy was born. There was no information offered about Mandy's father, which that one raised a red flag. Like, it kind of raised a red flag. Like, I wish there was, like, more information about the mother and the father. Um, I kind of believe in the theory that the father maybe abandoned them or he died when she was really young and didn't remember. So they kind of like raised the flag a bit of like what happened to the father. Maybe the father experienced the same thing that Mandy is experiencing. I think I have to look into like research to see if there's like any like passed down experiences of UFO, alien abduction or alien encounters. Usually there is usually with families experiencing it. For example, there is some abduction of children and abduction of parents. Usually the kids will disappear. And like there was like that one story about it like many years ago. Like this person believed that they had had encounters with alien abductions. Usually it happens to people young and they have what is it like? What is the term? Like memories erased, I think, or memories blocked out by encounters. That was weird. My cat just like ran into like this something took off. So that gotta freak me out. I am not making this up. Like something like it says, yeah. But this woman is a teacher. Like she is this woman is a teacher and stuff. So my cat is eating and she's very loud. So, let's see. No information was offered about Mandy's father. I didn't press the issue. The mother recently retired from her position as a state worker. I asked them to keep the journal on their activities to contact me. She's like the loudest eater. Like anytime I wake up in the morning, I'll go to the bathroom, get prepared for the day, brush my teeth, wash up. She will come into the bathroom. My cat. I'll tell the story real quick, then we'll get back to the story. And she will walk towards her plate and just like fall over. Not like fall over, but like lay down and like crawl to her bowl, like stretch her paw out, grab a little food towards her and start eating, and get up and eat like a regular cat. Like she is like the then she'll like if there's like little food on there, she'll like look up at me like laying down like and meow. So she's like the laziest cat. Very spoiled cat. Like she will get mad. Like I have a cat farm for those who are new to the show. I feed homeless cats and I set up like a home for them in the shed where they could sleep I put an old chair in there. I made a bed for them to lay in. It's like Woodstock in the shed for those cats. And I will take like leftover food that we had that we aren't going to eat. So I just take the food out there and feed them. Like I took like leftover chicken out there to the cats. And like I felt like I was being watched from the house, and all of a sudden I turn around and I see my dog Lilo and our cat Lola looking out the window at me like, what the fuck are you doing? You're the best cat daddy. Oh, thank you, love. Like they were just looking at me and they were like mad. Like, you took the chicken out there. We wanted that chicken. It was just like the most ridiculous thing ever, so it was kind of funny though. So let's see, where are we at? Mother was recent. I asked them to keep a journal on the activity and to contact me. Let's see, there was no routine work when working cases. During the interview, Mandy asked, what is happening to us? I didn't tell her that they may have been singled out, but I really did sense that may have been a case. Little did I know it would be my last contact with Mandy. Shit. Some of this stuff, a lot of these UFO abductions and cases, I am not really a skeptic when it comes to alien abduction stuff. I do look at it both ways. I do look at it as something that is bizarre and unexplainable, really. And we did play a clip of a video where a guy hypnosis regression, where he is being under hypnosis treatment, where they are asking him for memories and nightmares that he was having, where he was being abducted. And I seen a lot of these stuff. Like I seen like a lot of them. Some of them could come out fake, but this one looked real. It's just something about the vibe of it I just got from the video. And I felt like this guy is not making this up. This guy is going through something. I hear her in my bathroom. I hear my cat in the bathroom. Like, today I saw a wasp, which kind of like freaked me out a bit, because I was just like, as cold as it's gotten, I never seen wasps outside or anywhere. And all of a sudden, like, the cat is fighting a wasp. I don't know why. Like, this cat's been on a killer spree of killing flying insects. Like, first it was a moth, then it was a fly. I don't know how the hell the cat killed a fly. Then it was a bee, which I'm just like, great, you're killing off something that's important. And, I mean, it's not like my sister's cat who killed squirrels, a rabbit, a possum, a bird. Like, her cat is called Rocket. I said, like, you should have named it Dexter. Or Bateman. Or Jason, or Freddy. Probably Because my sister's cat will catch a rabbit or something and rip its head off and leave it at the front door of their house. And she sent me a photo of it, and there was a cat like sitting not that far from it looking at her. I'm just like, I wrote back, lock the door. It was just like, I was just like, damn. And I was just like, and I wrote, she goes, she wrote like LOL laughing emojis, like, what happened to the head? She wrote back, I don't know. And it was just like, and it's her cat. It's her cat. And she sent my brother-in-law out there to clean it up. All I hear, she's like recording him, and all I hear is, because he was about to vomit, because the smell and the blood all over their front deck. It was just kind of like the funniest shit. Like, so, like, the most I ever seen that any of the cats kill something was the one cat that's outside that is like the big, the cat killed a snake. Like, it killed a baby snake where the cat ripped its head off and carried the body off into the woods. And all of a sudden I see the one black and white cat just run away from the woods, like, like, running out of there. So, anyway, let's get back to this case. So, after I got off the phone with Mandy and her mother, I started to examine several incident databases in an attempt to find similar events, continued activity to the same witnesses over a period of time. It is somewhat unusual. I was very concerned that there may eventually be an escalation. The next day, I expected to receive a follow-up phone call from Mandy. In fact, I called and left messages asking that she let me know if there was any further activity. I waited 3 days, and no telephone call or an email came my way. Then Sunday afternoon, I anticipated a call to come in. It was Mandy's mother. She apologized for not getting back to me. This was an obvious distress in her voice, and a brief pause, and she calmly said, "Mandy is missing." The mother knows something. I mean, how do you calmly say that your daughter is missing? You would be any mother, but the motherly instinct would go to authorities, to friends and associates of her, and gather up a search to find her. You wouldn't just calmly, after 3 days, say, like, my daughter is missing. You just wouldn't. There's something to it that doesn't explain anything. I mean, that's why I believe the mother also knows what happened to the father. The father probably experienced the same things that Mandy was going through. The person wrote, "I had a sudden sick feeling in my stomach. Mandy has gone to bed." Not long after we talked on the telephone, her mother remained downstairs in the living room, watching television. At about 11 p.m., she decided to go to her bedroom. As she passed Mandy's bedroom, she noticed lights coming in from the bottom of the door. She knocked on the door in order to check on her. There was no response. As she opened the door, the room went completely dark. She flicked on the light switch by the door and observed that Mandy was not in bed. She called out to her, and there was no response, and a panic began to set in. She literally screamed, "Mandy," while running through the house. There was no trace of her inside or out. Mandy was gone. The local authorities have no explanation of all of Mandy's personal items, including her car, remain. It was simply she vanished. Since Mandy was adult, there wasn't really much that the police investigators can do. They suspect she took off with somebody during the night. I asked her mother to keep an update, but I never expected to hear back from her. As far as I know, Mandy never returned home. The last time I made an inquiry with Washington State Police, her case remains unsolved. Mandy's disappearance still haunts me, and I am certain that she was abducted by an unknown force. But this doesn't absolve me from any feelings of feeling guilt. I realize that my regret seems ridiculous since I had nothing to do. Seems ridiculous. There was nothing I could have done. Nothing less, I suspect that the stigma of her ordeal will always remain with me. I kind of want to search into this case. I mean, the story intrigues me. And I do have relatives who live in Washington. I have an aunt, an uncle, and a cousin. And a cousin-in-law and her kid living in Washington State. Washington State is kind of an interesting state when you think about it. I mean, yesterday we did the vampire story where it was set in Seattle. And for me, I really want to look into this. I wish there was a full name of this woman. And it's pretty funny though, because I one time like, here's the seasons that happen where my uncle and my aunt live. They have like the most bizarre weather, and the time there is very different. Like, they have spring, summer, and fall, and I mean, they have the same seasons as us, but they have and they have like, they say like at times it gets like really dark quickly. Like, it gets really dark there, and like some of the seasons stick around a bit longer than usual. Like it's very fascinating how Seattle is. Let's see. I really want to see more of this case. I'm gonna Google it. I'm still looking to see if there's like any. Yesterday's story, we also talked about these stories of these black eye kids, which it kind of weirds me out when I read the story about it. But there's one story I don't know if I got to read it. It was about the person with missing time. There's always one of those stories of missing time and deja vu. Several incidents of lost time. In 1985, I started working at 2 different jobs. I worked from 10 to 3 and 3:15 to midnight. Damn, your whole day went gone. Which I, kind of understand, but driving home at night, the only paved road that goes my way. I had to drive through a long stretch of swamp. For 2 years, I drove this route. I frequently would have arrived home hours later. That's only 25 minutes ride. I should have been home by 12:45, the latest. Many times I would arrive before 3 or 4 a.m. Damn. I also lost hours in the swamp during the daylight. I have no clue what happened to those hours. I have no memory of them. But I have 2 incidents back of my 2 indents on the back of my ears that are not normal or piercing. One on each ear, perfectly aligned with the other. Is this related? I don't know. Have you ever experienced deja vu quite often? I've never in my life experienced deja vu. I am sort of looking at what other stories there are. Real vampires. Oh, here we go. This one is also set in Washington, Tacoma, Washington. Boy, oh boy. There's been a lot of weird things happening in Washington. Such as my cat closing the bathroom door by herself. But I never imagined like Washington would be like the new New Orleans. Because in New Orleans there was always stories of vampires, witchcraft, the supernatural. But Seattle, a lot of weird things happened. When my mother was young, living in Tacoma, Washington, mere few blocks from Puget Sounds, 3 hours from the home of Bing Crosby was born in. She said a strange family had moved in. You never saw activity during the day, but they always entertaining at night. But they were entertaining at night. Sorry about that. She never saw any activity during the day, but they were entertaining at night. Kind of sounds like my old neighborhood I used to live in. I am not making this up. When it was like, God, it feels like 3 years ago. Wow, it feels like a lifetime ago. 3 years ago, I lived in this area. I used to have my sister as my neighbor. And I kind of miss having her as my neighbor, because my oldest sister was like fucking hilarious to be around. And she was ghetto as hell. Like, she was loud. Like, you could hear her, like, all the way down the road. But, this was kind of like my own story of, as well. I had, like, I had neighbors that really didn't like me. But they would, I am not making this up, gang stalk me. Like, they would, like, the final months I was living there, I really didn't talk to anybody because, quite frankly, they weren't worth my time in the first place. So, they would watch what I'm doing from their windows. Watch what I'm doing. Like, I planted a tree, and this crazy motherfucker would watch from his window, watch me get in my car, drive off, go do what I'm doing. And when I come back, he would just like watch what I'm doing. So I planted a tree. I bought this nice tree. And I just planted it. Oh yeah, you remember me telling you this? Yeah. Yeah, it was creepy. Yeah. So I planted this tree. It was a nice tree. It was like it was a tree that usually like blocks people's views. Because I kind of want to sit on the front deck of my house, and just enjoy the day. And like, this guy would complain. I'll get to the vampire story now. Let me just tell you the story, y'all. And he would complain. I used to get up at like 7 or 8. Now I get up at like 6 a.m. in the morning. Do push-ups, sit-ups, lift weights, and do what I do. So, I would get up and, if the grass needed to be cut, I'll go cut the grass, and, so on and so forth. Cut the grass, check the garden, do what I have to do. So, he would get mad that I'm up at 9 a.m. in the morning cutting the grass. He would complain about it. Like, he would complain about the littlest things. Like, I have 2 driveways where I lived. I was on the dead end of the road, mind you. So, I had 2 driveways. I would pull in, back up, the second driveway, and, drive. Because this is a dead end road. This isn't like a cul-de-sac where you could just do a U-turn and drive. This is like one road. A dead end road. And he would, he would complain about it. Like, mind you, he wasn't the only neighbor that was weird. I had one neighbor who would walk in my yard to take her dog to the bathroom. And I would get pissed about it because this dog would shit in my yard and she would not pick it up. And this was the same woman who would also look in my car to see what the fuck I had in my car. So one day I got so aggravated. I walked outside and I said to her, like, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, is this your yard?" And I look at her like, "Who the fuck mows the grass?" I don't know. I was like, I point at the mower. And I'm like, "I am tired of cleaning up your dog's shit." She goes, "Well, you have dogs." I said, "I take them in the backyard." I was like, "You need to clean up your dog's shit." She goes, "Well, I don't have a bag." And I grab a bag. I'm like, "Here, clean it up." So I would get mad about it, and I was like, I remember I said, like, you know, I made this sarcastic joke, which, to my sister is very left-wing person. I said to her, like, I kind of see the point where Trump wants to build a wall. I want to build a fucking wall to keep people out. My yard. So, my sister got mad because her husband was friends with the woman whose dog shat in my yard. I made the joke, and everyone got mad at me because she's like, "Well, that ain't funny." I was like, "Well, it is funny to me." Like, I was like, "How do you feel about someone bring their dog in the shit in your yard? You wouldn't like it. You find it disrespectful." So, anyway, I just had to make that comment. So, the dude who was watching, he was kind of like that story, The Watcher. Remember that story where the guy who had family members who watched the house, and he was like the third watcher of the house? The young blood. Kind of made me think of that one. So, and by the way, folks, I made the Trump joke. It isn't a reflection of who I am. If you ever had people who walk in your yard and let their dog shit in your yard, you would get upset too. So, especially if you stepped in it. Which I didn't. I always watch where I walk. So, he got mad when I would pull in my second driveway to drive up. He got mad because he claimed that the driveway was his. Which the driveway wasn't. The driveway leaned towards my house, which means property line is mine. So he got mad because he's like, he was like bitching and complaining to some person who pulled in, and mind you, I don't like people who talk trash and act like they're tough, which they turn out to be pussies. This guy would all of a sudden start talking smack about me to this person, going like, well, ever since this guy moved in, he thinks his driveway's his. And I walk out there, and I said to him, like, first off, you don't mow this grass. And I'm like, you don't even barely mow your grass half the time. I was like, I'll fill in this fucking hole if you shut up. And he just walked off. And all of a sudden, like, I fill in the hole with dirt and gravel. And he doesn't even use the driveway. So I fill in the dirt and hole and gravel, and all of a sudden he will come out at like weird nights. He will come out with a flashlight, start blinding the flashlight towards my window, the house, the car, rile up my dogs, stand in the middle of the fucking road, walk around in a circle, then go back into his house. And I'm just like, I wish I would have recorded it, because he was a weird motherfucker. It's like, no wonder his wife divorced him and left him, because he was fucked up in the head. So years later, I had to drop my niece off at my sister's place, and I couldn't help, but I had to do it. I drove down to my old place. I seen the washer I tried to move that I accidentally broke, and still in the middle of the road. The tree was gone I planted. So I forgot to mention, like, one time he took photos. I am not making this up. Years later, my sister told me he took photos of her and her grandkids and her entire family. Like, he stepped out the fucking door. got in the middle of the road, started taking photos of my sister and her family, because he said they were up to shady activity. And I'm not going to use the one word that he referred to my step-niece's African-American boyfriend, but he dropped that word on him. It's a crime in Germany. So, hold on, some weird show's on here. Oh, hey Vern, it's Ernest. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching Jim Varney's Ernest stuff. For those who've never seen Jim Varney as Ernest, it's good commercials, and they made them into like movies. And Ernest Goes to School, Ernest's Halloween is like my favorite one. So, so he had the tree cut down. He took photos of my... Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah. People are fucking weird. It's kind of the same thing as like crime if you like record somebody without their consent. Video or audio recording. Not video, audio recording. Like if you... I think now it's like you can record somebody on camera for being weird. So I pull in the driveway. The driveway he complained about, that he claimed was his, but it wasn't. I pull in the driveway, and I put it in park. I turn off the car. All of a sudden, I start up the car, rev up the engine, put it in reverse, pull out of the driveway, rev up the engine again, put it in drive, and zoom the fuck off out of the neighborhood. I had to do it for putting up 3 years of his stupidity. I just had to do it. I had to do it, and it felt really good. It felt really good to do it, because I was just like, fuck everybody, to the point, you know. So, let's get back to this vampire story, that somehow people who do not come out in the day, who do weird things at night, especially weird things at night, like the point where my sister's brother-in-law and his neighbors patrolled their neighborhood at night, because they all believed somebody was breaking into cars. And I jokingly said to my sister, if somebody broke into your car at night, they wouldn't steal anything. Instead, they would bring stuff to you as sympathy and pity of how messy your car is. So there seemed to be a pair of couples, perhaps an additional male or two male or two in the household. Mom said that they could be elegant. They could see elegant interiors, yet unkept exteriors. Very classy vampires. Yeah, I kind of make jokes about my family's cars, like the interior of their cars. Like I told my dad his interior of his cars looked more like a crime scene than than anything. So they never interacted with anyone in the neighborhood ever. Who could blame them? Now they all dress very elegant and old-fashioned, dark Edwardian style, very dark. I guess you take it like very, dark Edwardian style. Sorry about that. All of them seem young, yet old in carelessness, if you will. What are you, Dusty Rhodes? If you will, baby. It was very Dusty Rhodes ending of that sentence. I can't do a Dusty Rhodes impression. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of who Dusty Rhodes is. The American Dream. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. They would quickly gain a reputation of odd, leading folks to whisper, vampires. First off, time out. How are they vampires? I mean, do they ever interact with their neighbors? No. Do they have nice style of interior and, fashion style? Yes, they do. If that's who a vampire is, then I guess I'm one. I mean, I don't interact with my neighbors. I have a damn good style, if you ask me. And do I seem kind of odd? To an outsider, maybe. To people who know me, they say introvert. Person who does not interact with anybody. I don't know how I'm odd. I guess like one time I talk to the cats outside when I feed them. I guess that's kind of to a person odd, but cats are good listeners. Except my cat in here, she just looks at me like, you got food. I guess that's odd, but I mean, me and the one cat outside, I named Edward. Like, he will meow back at me when I'm talking to him. It's kind of like a conversation we're having. I remember one time he stood underneath the sun. I jokingly called him Sparkles. And we have recently another cat arrived, a female cat, who kind of is a big cat, but kind of looks pregnant, I guess. I don't know. Who I named Selena. Just, she, like, the way she walked out of the shed, like, I put this blanket and the chairs, like I said. All of a sudden, she walks out of the shed strutting, like, just sort of adorable. So, no, it's cute and all. One night in 1953, when my mom was 9, she remembered being late, hurrying home before dark, or she would be in trouble. That was back then when parents said to their kid, she's pregnant? I assume she's pregnant. She has a big belly, I assume. I mean, I did see her with another cat cuddling up in the shed. A solid white cat. So she remembers being late. Or hurrying home before dark, or she would be in trouble. That's back when parents had their kids on a leash. Back in the day, like if you did not come home when the street lights came on, you are done. Your ass is grass. That was back when parents would go off on their kid, discipline them. Today parents are foot mats. They don't, like, there's been a lot of kids, like, if you're wondering why kids are the way they are today, is because parents cannot discipline them because they would get in trouble. So that's what parents need nowadays is to, She wasn't paying attention, then smack. She ran right into a tall, handsome, very pale man with black eyes, wearing an evening cape of black with red lining. He grabbed her and looked at her, set her back and told her to pass by quickly. I should read it. Pass by quickly. She ran home fast as she could, knowing she just jumped right into one of them and had been lucky break. The next morning, headlines in the papers reported a young woman found dead in the park, not far from their house. She had been drained of blood. The neighborhood vamps left the area shortly after. Damn, that's a good story. This one's set in 1932. Man, there's a lot of vampire stories. Whew. I guess we'll be doing some vampire stories. I will say this one about the neighborhood one. That one's kind of weird. I mean, the most I'm known for is like I never killed anyone, drained their blood for being a weird, for a neighbor living in a neighborhood. I mostly have a ton of cats. I'm the cat man. Used to be having squirrels and, birds. The funniest time ever was when a baby squirrel beat up a black bird doing the This Is Sparta from 300 and bam! Hit the bird and took off. But now it's like cats, like the thing is, like, I love cats. I'm a cat person. I love dogs. I have 2 dogs who look at me like, why are you feeding these cats? Especially Stitch, who would be like, there's enough cats, alright? We got one psychopath in the house who today jumped on my back, and as I was walking, like, right, thinking I'm a horse. Then he comes outside and he has the black cat that lays on our porch on the table, sunbathing, stretching. All of a sudden wants to play with poor Stitch on the porch, like. It's kind of funny though, like all the cats would come up to Stitch, rubbing up against him, purring, as he's trying to walk. As he enters the house, all of a sudden here comes Lola, biting him in the tail and smack him in the rear end and run. It's like, this poor dog. So, especially the one cat, who I jokingly named Jacob, who has this, white chin, like, he has, like, gray top, of his face and white chin. He likes aggravating Stitch for no reason. He will sneak up on that poor dog and just aggravate him for no reason, then run off, like, wanting Stitch to chase him. Like, it's like, leave the poor dog alone. So anyway, let's get to the second vampire story. On May 1st, 1932, a 32-year-old prostitute named Lily Lindstorm, finally they gave a name to someone, was discussing plans for the evening's May Day. Celebrate with her friend Minnie Jansen, a 35-year-old woman who lived in the same floor and made her living the same way as Lily, nicknamed the Call Girl, because she was the only person in the building with a phone. Lily received a call from a potential client asking if he could come over. Lily agreed. Minnie left her to it. I feel dirty just reading that. I feel really, really dirty reading that. On May 4th, 1932, Lily was found dead in her flat and her home in Stockholm, in the district of Stockholm, Sweden. She was last seen alive by her friend Minnie. Minnie said that Lily head to her apartment twice one evening, borrowing condoms. On the second occasion, around 9 p.m., Lily was totally naked beneath her coat. That was last seen was when Lily was that was the last sight was Lily's last thing that Lily was seen a couple days ago. Whoever wrote this, they wrote, that was the last that was seen. This person who wrote this must have been tired. Because literally, this is what wrote. That was the last that was seen of Lily. That was the last that was seen of Lily, sorry. For me, it was like, damn, like, am I high or something? Lily was concerned after ringing Lily's. Minnie became concerned after ringing Lily's doorbell. It was getting no reply. She called the police, who forced her way in. Lily was found laying dead on a sofa, her clothes neatly folded in a chair nearby. Her skull had been dealt with a crushing blow. Damn. What elevates this case from the tragic to utterly bizarre was the fact that somebody had been drinking her blood. In the room, bloodstained gravy ladle. Further inspections revealed that the blood was been drained from Lily's body and the killer has used a ladle to drink it. I'm not laughing, but I'm just like, would you imagine that? I'm just imagining this case in my head. Her body's on the floor, head bashed in, gravy ladle used to drink from. I'm just kind of, it's weird as this sounds, I kind of picture it in my head of like how they would see it. But the thing is like, did anybody not hear anything? I mean, I lived in an apartment once when I was a kid, and you could hear the neighbors. How did anyone not hear this woman her head being bashed in? Unless she knows the person that killed her. Usually when you don't hear anybody scream being killed, they're either they're being muffled or they know the killer. Because prostitute or not, she had to be comfortable around this person, I assume. Because this person must have been like a recurring client. Or customer, as they call it. Despite authorities' best efforts, the story was leaked by the local press, nicknamed the unknown killer, the Atlas Vampire, due to the area of the city which Lily lived in. 80 of Lily's customers were investigated. No suspects were revealed. Many had not recognized the voice on the phone from what she heard. She commented that the man seemed very sober and polite. There didn't seem to have any fingerprints or any suspicious items at the scene. One of the theories is the killer was a police officer who had bludgeoned Lily with a truncheon, with his, police baton. It's truncheon. I assume it's a police baton. Let's see. And knew how to cover up his tracks. Either way, Lily's final customer was never found. He had to be a recurring customer. Like someone that she didn't keep a list of. Like someone she liked. Someone that, I guess the term is side dude or something. He had to be a person that she liked being around, that she didn't view as a customer. You know what I mean? The story's kind of like, I'm trying to figure it out in my head. This had to be someone, either she liked having around her, that she liked being with, that she didn't realize that he was buttering her up to kill her. Or he was a very extremely wealthy person that she was being paid, of course, for her services, but requesting her not to put their name in her book. And he paid her more than any customers that she's been with. I mean, it can't be a police officer, because if it was, they would have had his name in the book as a customer. And of course they would cover it up because it's a fellow officer. So for me, I think it's the first two theories I have. It was either a wealthy person or someone that she loved being around, that she was comfortable with, that she kept secretive from many, that she never talked about, because it was her business, not her friends. This one I'm going to read. This one is in Romania, southwest Romania, but I want to read this one. This one is in New Orleans. I kind of want to go to New Orleans. I want to go to New Orleans. I don't know why. Because New Orleans is kind of a fascinating place. In 1984, 9 people were found dead in various sections of the French Quarter of New Orleans. They all had been murdered by having their throats torn out. The paramedics responded to the scene and were struck by the fact that there was no blood at the scene. Something or someone simply sucked all the blood directly from their victims. Police to this day have no suspect in this case. The murder spree ended quickly. It had begun rumors suggesting that in the works there was Rumors suggested that there was a work of a rogue vampire that destroyed by the Elder Vampire sect in New Orleans because of placed by authorities on the known of the vampire community in the city. Damn. That sounds like a good fucking story. That sounds like something out of Interview with the Vampire. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. Sorry, I had to open this. Sorry about that. I found this cool drink called Blood Orange. It's it's kind of this sparkling water fruit flavor and it has a blood orange. It's very delicious. For those who've never seen Interview with the Vampire, in this movie it was about Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and a young Kristen Stewart. Or is it Kirsten Stewart? So, in this story, I think it was Brad Pitt killed this little girl and Tom Cruise had sympathy for him. And they turned this girl into a vampire and she became this psychopathic murderer. And Antonio Banderas, who's in this movie, as this elder vampire, did not approve of Kristen Stewart's behavior. She turned a woman into a vampire, and she wanted this vampire family with Brad Pitt. And Tom Cruise in the film, who I had sympathy for in this film, was set on fire and burned by Kristen Stewart and Brad Pitt after Cruise warned Pitt of she is not what she looks like. Inside, she's a monster. And they leave him to, as they believe, perished, but spoiler alert, Cruise lived. So, Antonio Banderas put a trial and decided to kill Stewart and this woman that she turned into a vampire, and sort of I forget what happened, but it kind of reminds me of this. This story kind of reminds me of it. In 1933, there were two different nights the police were called to the Royal Street, where each night a young prostitute was found laying in an alley, with their throats torn out. Both women had been dead for a few minutes, where they were found, but no blood was found at the scene. Local residents who lived above one of the murder scenes claimed a dark figure was observing and leaning over one of the victims. And people began to scream for the police. And the witness said the dark figure climbed over a 12-foot wall at the end of the alley. And little effort was made Sorry. It appeared that the witness and the dark figure was a man dressed in a black cape and a hat. Police searched, but found nothing. Both murders have yet to be solved. I kind of want to go to New Orleans now. I kind of want to go there. You know? I mean, there's always been this weird supernatural thing about New Orleans. It's pretty good. That is pretty good. Blood Orange. So, I mean, I know a lot of people say like New Orleans has this history of music, jazz music, the blues. Mardi Gras, which I don't really give a shit about. Who the fuck cares about Mardi Gras? I know some people do, but for me, I just like, who the fuck cares? But for me, the feeling of the city, you know. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will read this next story of the vampire story in Southwest Romania. And we will come back with that story. So I'm going to play this song I really like. If it loads. Alright. We'll be right back after this song. So, I'm back. I feel better. See, this news article popped up. Lou Ferrigno hates Hulk and Avengers Endgame. Really couldn't blame him on that one. It's kind of weird though. People love Professor Hulk. I really don't, by the way. So, I could be the bad man about that one. So, that's the name of the song, by the way. Bad Man by Blue Saraceno. Anyway. Let's see. Authorities in a small west town in Romania opened an investigation against six people who allege have impaled the body of a villager. Oh, I know this one. They claim that the six people that did it were family members of Petri Toman, who they claim sucked the blood from them at night as they sleep, and they became sick and ill, and oh, I know that one, yeah. That one's kind of like all over. That is like the biggest story of like vampire, because they staked, they put the stake in the dead body of their relative who they believed was a vampire, and for me it was just so. I remember they did like a. I don't know if this is true. I remember. I remember seeing the story and I thought like it was so interesting, but as a person, as a person now, I don't find it really interesting. Let's see. Oh, and I got a message right here from someone on Twitter. Speaking of vampires, I highly recommend checking out the game Vampire from the makers of Life is Strange. Huh. Oh, it's a vampire game. I know there's been a lot of like vampire video games that's been made. I have never. I know there's like one vampire video game I kind of want to play. I forget what it's called. Shit, what was it? It was I remember damn, it's like one of those video games. It's a video game I remember somebody a lot of people talked. Oh, Vampire the Masquerade. That's it. I always wanted to play that one, but I never got to because it's on like Microsoft PC, and I never could find it. Like anytime I found it, it was like the people who had it, the people who were selling it wanted like ridiculous prices for it because it was like a cult classic, and I think now they made like a new video game called Vampire the Masquerade of New York or something like. Oh, they did. It's gonna be out on. Oh, here it is. It's gonna be out on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One 2020. I'll definitely play it, you know. But I mean, one video game I talked about, I never gotten around to buy it and play it is Planet Coaster. So, Vampire the Masquerade will be out December 4th, 2019 on PC. I might buy it. I might. So, anyway. So, I would love to play the first one, Vampire Masquerade. The Masquerade. All right. This is one story in this story is from another one. I was born prematurely in 1956, 3 months before I was supposed to be born. I weighed a little over 2 pounds. Sorry about that, 2 pounds. I had a collapsed lung and dropped less than 2 pounds shortly after my birth. Damn. The doctor told my mom I would not survive, but she replied, God wouldn't give me a child after 12 years just to take her away from me. He told her that if I survived the night and start to put on weight, I just might live, but it would be a miracle. Those days they didn't have they didn't have intensive care units like they do today. I was just put on a regular nursery with other babies. My father told me many times the babies who were healthy and normal started to die, and I began to thrive. Holy shit. I was so tiny that the wristbands they were supposed to put on me, which just barely fit my father's thumb, fell off. So they had to pin it on my clothing. Even nowadays, I can find a draw energy from around me. I used to belong to a coven in West Long Branch in New Jersey. The story's kind of weird. We would all gather together for rituals during the full moon and certain holidays like Yule. I don't even know what that is. On one such occasion we gathered, then broke the circle of meditation together. The fireplace was lit and the room was very warm. Once we started to meditate, everyone stated how cold the room had suddenly gotten and began to shiver. I was the only one that was warm and quite well content. Thunderstorms and lightning would make me feel energized. I know that feeling. Thunderstorms and lightning make me feel quite energized. I definitely know that feeling. On the other occasions while in Manhattan, the 4th of July, a friend and I decided to sit at Thompson Square, and a little girl was with us. Then I told my friend who sit across from me, and hold out her hands beneath mine, and let her mind go blank. I concentrated and she felt a ball of energy between our hands. Suddenly my daughter screamed with glee, and my friend gasped around us and have hundreds of fireflies just around us. I always knew I was different. And yes, I guess I relate to the whole psychic vampire thing. Well, I guess that's the last of the vampire stories. Let's see. Yeah, that's a shame. I want more. I want more vampire stories. That one's kind of interesting. I find that one very intriguing and interesting, in my opinion. What do I think of the whole psychic vampire thing? I do believe that people can gather. Oh, here's more. Flesh of the dead. I found more stories for everybody if they're wanting to read or hear more stories about the vampire thing. For me, I feel like the stories have... A lot of these stories are very intriguing, especially the New Orleans one. I find the New Orleans one really to be fascinating, and I think that I'm sorry. Holy shit! This one's fucked up. This one includes a photo and video. This one's involving vampires. A screen cap of a Filipino police video that supposedly depicts a young girl who butchered her family members that suspected she was a vampire, and alleged that the little girl lured an older boy into the jungle and murdered him. That is fucking scary. That one is scary. I didn't look at it because it looked bad, in my opinion. I didn't look at it because it looked really horrifying. That one's bad. Just bad in several ways, horrifying and terrifying. So, anyway. Anyway, this one's a long story. I like right here. I'm going to add this one to favorites. A Romanian general who's an expert in radar technology and has a doctorate in the geological. The story of the photo kind of shook me up a bit. So anyway, he was involved with the HARP technology. HARP is the HARP radar system is the photo's still, that photo is like haunting to look at, and I hope they did something to the family members that did that. That was horrifying. If you're interested in looking for these phantom, the website that I'm on, I'm reading all these stories, it's called phantomandmonsters.com. They have several different types of stories you're looking for in the supernatural stories and all that. The HARP system is, the government wants to like control weather to use it for warfare or something. Control the weather and all these crazy things. He served as an advisor to the Romanian Parliament on unconventional issues and threats, director of Species Situation Research Center of UFOs and stuff, the founder Association of Study of Unidentified Phenomenon, and the author of several books and stuff. For many years he claimed that reptilian... Oh, man, this is about the reptilian thing. I want to read about the vampire stuff. I don't want to read about that. I'm going to read this one. A Grandmother's Warning. Uh, Alright, I'm gonna read this one. This one's called The Rider. There's like several stories, and I kind of want to avoid the one story and photo I saw. Screen cap and all that. The Rider. This one's called The Rider. My story starts with an unusual night with my girlfriend. We were having a wonderful time. She complained that she was not feeling well. I insisted on going home. I insisted she go home. I decided to take a shortcut on the older highway in order to get her home quicker. When we reached her place, I made sure she was comfortable, then left home, since she was tired and hungry. I decided to take the old highway and go near an all-night eatery where I could get a coffee and a bite to eat. Nothing happened on the road, though I must admit I was feeling odd halfway through. I was beginning to feel like something is sitting behind me. My motorcycle was feeling heavier and heavier. No matter how hard I turned the throttle, the bike couldn't go any faster. I was running on a full tank of fuel. I'm beginning to feel a little spooked. I sensed something was behind me. I felt something brushing on my neck. Come to think of it, I felt like hair. Well, I couldn't stand it. My curiosity took over. I quickly turned my head to see if there's something behind me. I had a shock of my life. It was a lady in white, with long hair. Her face turned away. My God. It had something. What was I going to do? She was sitting there, on my bike. Her legs did not cross the seat. Sitting on the side, her legs together, facing my right direction. Thank God I did not see her face. In a matter of 2 seconds, I looked back in front of the focus on the road. I prayed to myself, please God help me. As soon as I reached the main road, the weight lifted off my bike. I sped all the way home. The old highway, off limits from now on. That one's kind of creepy. So, I decided to go research something else. That story, that one story involving the family and what happened, it's just, I need a break from that. It kind of freaks me out when you see something like that. I sometimes wonder what goes through people's minds for this. You know what I mean? This one came in big news for HBO Max. The Release the Snyder Cut campaign has been a success as it has been reported that Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League will be released on Warner Brothers Media's new HBO Max streaming service launches next May. While the official announcement hasn't been made, numerous sources are offering that Release the Snyder Cut is happening on HBO Max. Further evidence has come from the fact that Justice League actors, including Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, and Joe Manganiello, in addition of Zack Snyder and members of his production crew, have promoted #Release the Snyder Cut Media. It has appeared that it's been planned marketing campaign in conjunction on the 2-year anniversary of the theatrical Justice League release. New images have been released in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, with Jason Momoa confirming that Zack Snyder has finished his version of the film. According to the Lords of Longbox YouTube channel, has also offered the release of Snyder Cut on HBO Max release. Redditors have been pointing out promos for HBO Max is now using scenes from the Snyder Cut that do exist on the Whedon version as well. Redditors have pointed out that Warner Brothers has started following Zack Snyder on Twitter. Kevin Smith included HBO Max in his tweet for release the Snyder Cut. HBO Max has liked a tweet about release the Snyder Cut. Fans have been campaigning for the Snyder Cut release of Justice League since the theatrical turned out to be a disappointment. Zack was unable to finish his version of Justice League due to the family tragedy that saw Joss Whedon coming on board and basically redoing the entire movie. It's been reported that Whedon's script had 80 pages, which mean 80 minutes of new footage, was different from Zack Snyder's version. Typically, 1-page script equals 1 minute of footage. HBO Max launches in May with a price of $14.99. I'm surprised Ezra Miller has been mentioned, in my opinion, about it. I don't know if he doesn't have Twitter or any social media. He's kind of a mystery, so I kind of knew this was coming. I kind of figured that they were going to some way to get people to buy the HBO Max thing. I mean, with the whole Friends special, like it wasn't really going to get butts and seats to watch HBO Max and subscribe. It was just, you had to get something to get people to be like, I gotta see it. I gotta watch it. I gotta see what they're gonna do. I mean, it would make a lot of sense for HBO Max to garner a lot of interest and give them attention, because the first thing Disney came out with to get people to see is Lady and the Tramp, which looks really good in my opinion. The Mandalorian, which I haven't really heard much about it. I know a lot of people are like going crazy about it. This one's also a new interesting article and rumor. Alright. Rumor is Warner Brothers will be shooting multiple Batman movies back to back. There's been a new rumor detailed that Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves are shooting multiple Batman films back to back, reported by Grace Randolph. Reeves wrote on Twitter once on April 19th, 2018. He wrote, "There's so many I loved. Year One, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Ego, and many others. Neil Adams is awesome. Love the original Cane and Finger Batman." I could go on. You know, when I hear like the way they talk about his Batman film, I always think back of like Batman Begins. I look forward to seeing what he does. It would be interesting to see him do back-to-back Batman films. I mean, Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings trilogy back-to-back, and Cameron's currently filming Avatar back to back, and Harry Potter films are filmed back to back, and Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolution. It would be a cool thing for him to do, a Batman film. I mean, Batman film year after year after year. Who would want it? Everyone would want it. I mean, you gotta be crazy not to want a Batman films back to back to back. I mean. Let's see. Stargirl will air on DC Universe and the CW when it premieres. See, this is kind of like pissing me off. I mean, first I know a lot of people are going to be like, everyone doesn't have DC Universe, which is true. But what the hell is the point of even having DC Universe if you're just going to put Doom Patrol on HBO Max and put Stargirl on the CW? First off, fuck the CW. They really don't have anything good on anymore. But it's kind of like, it's disappointing and annoying that they will do this. I mean, if there's like one show that people would want would be Titans on the CW. I mean, this new episode they released was the hilarity of Hawk. It just shows how much of a fuck up he is. I mean, sleeping with the woman who looks like a truck stop waitress. He's a fucking douche, Hawk is. It's kind of hard to believe that's the guy who played Aquaman and Smallville. It is hard to believe that's the dude who played Aquaman in Smallville. It's like, wow, dude, you fell. So, anyway. Todd Phillips' Joker movie. Todd Phillips denies reports of Joker sequel and further villain movies. Conflicting report of a sequel of Joker movies been around. A sequel to the Joker movies been around. Most popular with the villains since the release of the first Joker movie. Addressing the party concerned, Todd Phillips weighed in on the chatter of a meeting with Warner Brothers executives on the status of the future production. Various outlets, including Variety to Hollywood Reporter, has said he took a meeting with Warner Brothers chairman Toby Ermick to discuss a sequel and additional film starring Darkseid and Lex Luthor. Talking to the playlist, Phillips firmly dismissed the story, stating, quote, "Yeah, that was written today, and I have to be honest, it came out of nowhere." It's referring to a meeting that never had happened. I thought it was the best report ever. He adds the talks of passing the follow-ups of nothing sources. He goes, "Obviously sequels have been discussed when the movie only cost $60 million and made $1 billion. But we have not had any serious conversations about it." I will say this about the Joker sequel. Then we're going to wrap it up. And I will discuss Monday's episode, which is kind of exciting. I honestly think that there will be a sequel, possibly, or another villain, super villain type movie. But when I look at the Joker movie, I remember the ending where Joaquin Phoenix Joker walks in Arkham Asylum and all you see is bloody footprints, which kind of made me think of the movie Let the Right One In for some odd reason. It just made me think of that movie. Or the American version that Matt Reeves made, Let Me In. when I look at the ending scene and all that, it kind of made me think of, I don't want to see a sequel. As selfish as that sounds, because the ending was so perfect. It just, he kills, it leaves the indication that he killed someone and he's leaving Arkham with bloody footprints. It made me think of the Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade, where the Joker exits out of Arkham. He just walks out of Arkham after causing chaos. It just made me think of that. It was a very awesome scene and an awesome panel in the comic. I know a lot of people hate Frank Miller. Fuck those people. And fuck their feelings. Everyone wants to live in a safe space bubble where Batman has to be like Tom King's version, very emotional man who has no, inflicts his pain on everybody else and doesn't throw a fucking punch or anything. I love Miller's version of Batman. And don't get me wrong, I love some of the Tom King Batman stuff, but mostly the Batman Catwoman stuff. But I want a Batman that's brutal. Like, he will throw someone through a brick wall. Or he will beat the shit out of somebody. Like the Batman in the Dawn of Justice, the warehouse scene, where he just fucks everybody up on sight. Everybody, it's funny though, the people who criticize Miller's Batman are the same people for praising Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman and not realize that Zack Snyder took elements of Miller's Batman and incorporated in that film. They don't even realize it. And it's like, if you don't like Frank Miller or his work, don't buy it, don't read it, go fuck yourself. It's basically my motto. So anyway, I honestly, there's some people who like the Joker movie and they want to see Harley Quinn in it. And it's like, all honestly, does this Joker look like he is like, I need a Harley Quinn? Honestly, he is not the Jared Leto Joker that you want. He is a Joker that is like, I am going to destroy everyone around me. I am a walking plague. That's what that Joker is, in my opinion. He is a guy who got wronged and hurt, and he's just going to destroy everybody around him and not care. So, anyway, there's been a lot of standalone spin-off potential, such as Matthew McConaughey up for the Two-Face role in Batman, Ryan Gosling possibly playing Lex Luthor, Darkseid and the Darkseid character. I honestly if there's one character. Alright, I close the laptop so I can focus on this one. If there's one villain that they should make a movie about that's in the Batman mythos universe, is Mr. Freeze. That is one character you could do a movie about. Mr. Freeze. You could get the guy who played Magneto from the X-Men First Class film. I know he played Magneto in other films. Or you get Ben Kingsley or Patrick Stewart. You can get any actor to play Mr. Freeze. A good actor. Michael Fassbender, that's his name. You could get him to play Mr. Freeze. I would pay to go see a Mr. Freeze film. It'd be a great movie if they just take, notes from Phillips's Joker and just make it a low budget film and, keep it grounded and add some cool elements to it, it could work. So, I mean, they don't have to do a Joker film. They could just do, like, a villain that everybody likes that they find interesting, like Mr. Freeze or Bizarro. I'd love to see a Bizarro film. General Zod. Zod is a very interesting character. Let's see, what other one? I mean, I really don't want to see a Lex Luthor film. I find Lex Luthor really fucking boring. He's a boring villain, I'm sorry. There is nothing interesting about Lex Luthor. He's a very boring villain. I am sorry to everybody who finds it offensive and mean. It's the truth. I mean, you could do a solo movie about Martian Manhunter. I know he's not a villain, but I always wanted to see a Martian Manhunter film where he's on Mars and he's trying to keep his family alive, and he fails, and he goes to Earth, and some of the Martians that he was at war against shows up on Earth, and he has to take a stand to defend Earth because he does not want to see what happened to the people of Earth that happened to his people on Mars. It'd be a great film. Especially like The New Frontier. I think that's what I liked about it. Like, I love the Barry Allen story, but the Martian Manhunter story was interesting. Like, he tries to redeem himself. He tries to show everybody that he's not what they view him as. But anyway, this is the wrap up of the podcast. Monday's episode, I will be doing a narration of a Batman story. I decided I really liked reading the articles and stuff, so I decided, I kind of want to do a narration of a Batman story. So I guess Batman Hush would be the first story, I guess. I don't know, a lot of people have seen it, but I think it'd be interesting. I was going to read the one Kevin Smith one. I want to read it, but I really don't care for it. Because it's kind of a dumb one. They have Silver St. Cloud in it, and I really don't like her. So, I guess Batman Hush would be the one that I'll be reading Monday. So, anyway, this is the podcast, and I know there's some people who like the vampire stories and stuff. Go to phantomandmonsters.com. It's a website they have like many crazy paranormal phenomenon monster stories. So check it out. It's interesting. Interesting site. Very cool site. So anyway, I will be back Monday because there's no shows on the weekend. So anyway, thank you all for listening, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.